Okay, seeing as we've taken a little bit of a break, and we might kind of be starting a little bit blind, so we're going to go back to 12a7. Even though we're really on 12b1, we're going to go back to 12a7. Let's read the Mishnah. So let's just review one more time. Let's just review. Okay, let's just review. We're going to do the quick recap element. The quick recap goes as follows, like this. So we know that the person is free and clear. You can't kill him if he's in the bounds of the city. Not only of the city, as we learned, even of the fields outside the city. That also says it. He can't live there, but it's home base. Once he gets to the outskirts of the city, to the field part, he's already safe, in the safe zone. Okay? Now the Mishnah is going to start asking, how do we define the edge of that zone? Let's just try and figure out, what if you have a halfway situation on the edge of that safe zone, or on the edge of the city? It says the Mishnah as follows. Ilan shu omed b'toch atchum. You want to sit over here? You can read with me? Yeah. Ilan shu omed b'toch atchum. A tree that sits inside of the techum. So let's say this is the line. The tree is now inside the city, the roots of the tree. However, v'nofo noteh chutz latchum, but the branches are growing outside. O omed chutz latchum, or the tree is outside the tchum, on the outskirts of the city. V'nofo noteh b'toch atchum, and the branches go inside. How do we decide where the guy on the tree, if he's sitting on the tree, how do we decide where he goes? By the way, this is a fascinating situation. Where do we have an example in Tanakh of a person who gets killed on a tree?
Why did they chop his head off?
Gets stuck when he's on the donkey.
No, what?
When he's on the donkey, his head gets stuck.
Whose head?
The hair gets stuck.
Whose hair? Oh, he's halfway there. Oh, he's stuck by his hair. Avshalom. Avshalom's gorgeous with the most beautiful hair. He's trying to kill King David. As he rides under the tree, his hair gets stuck in the tree. They kill him while he's attached to, his hair is caught on the branch. They kill him because he's a murderous, rebellious traitor trying to kill King David. Okay? And David HaMelech mourns the most difficult, sad, bitter mourning for the son who's trying to kill him. Okay? Okay.
That's his son?
It's David HaMelech's son. Yeah. Okay? Now, born from but not born from Bathsheba, born from a Pilegesh. Says the Gemara. So now you have a situation where the accidental murderer is in the tree. How do we decide if the tree is in, if the branches are out? How do you decide? Gemara says, Hakol holech achar hanof. Everything goes after the branches. Since the branches are the only part that you could actually live on, that's what the Gemara is going to explain to us. Okay, because the tree is vertical. The branches are horizontal. You'd be able to actually build on the branches. So in such a case, the branches would be, wherever the branches are, that's where the tree is. So at least so far in the Mishnah, the way we understand this is, the whole tree goes after the branches. So you have a tree that's outside, it's outside of deal, it's after the sign, but the branches go in deal, they're going to charge you taxes for deal. Why? Because the branches come into deal. How about the other way around? The tree is in Asbury, okay, or Allenhurst, or I don't know what the name, what the border exactly is. I can never remember. No, but there's another one also. What's the other one? What? Lock Harbor. Is there one between Lock Harbor and? I thought there was a tiny one over here. Okay, Lock Harbor into Lake Armabarif. So you're right outside. The branches growing in. The branches would dictate where the whole tree is considered. So that means that even if you're in the regular part of the tree, the way the Mishnah seems to be saying right now, if the branches are in the other section, even though you're not in, you're still in. Clear? By the way, full disclosure, as a rabbi, my gut reaction would have been exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
And by the way, in truth, many laws actually are like that. Let's say you have a tree growing in somebody's backyard. It grows now over into other guy's backyard. It's causing all sorts of damage. Could you imagine? Very common. Happened to me in Manhattan. Happens in Deal. So what do? You tell the guy, could you cut the branches down? They're all over. Imagine the guy told you. What do you mean goes after the branches? I mean, that's like your tree. It's growing in your yard.
No, that's not the law.
Okay, what's the law?
The law is, because it's very prevalent with city trees, if the branches abut or come onto your property, you can cut those branches down.
Okay.
they're essentially yours.
Right, but as an example, who's obligated? Let's say the branches are causing damage.
Yeah, you would argue that the owner is obligated.
The owner where it's planted is obligated. That's how I would assume. And now what we're going to see is we're going to take other laws which look at this concept of a tree, and we're going to see the tree is planted in Israel, it grows over
I
here.
have
You know.
this with bikurim. I'm bringing bikurim to the Kohen. The branch is gone. If the roots go on the other side of the land, is it good enough to bring to the Kohanim?
Excellent. So,
We got a ringer here.
so this question, by the way, it has a very. By the way, I'm loving the coffee. I'm loving the coffee. Is this Boxer Joe?
The coffee is very good.
It's very good. I don't know what it is.
What kind of coffee is
What
it?
is it?
It doesn't matter. what kind of sweetener did he have?
Me and Bert are breaking in tonight.
Excellent coffee.
It's excellent coffee. Okay. I like this Splendor. Okay, so let's see the Gemara. But so far, at least the way we're understanding from the Mishnah, everything follows the branches. I don't care where it's planted. Branches are in, you're in. Branches are out, you're out. Okay. Says the Gemara. Veramini, we're going to ask you a question from Maaser Sheni. I don't know why you have random knowledge from Bikurim, by the way. Total props. Did you do that because someone needed to see you before Pesach or something?
Yeah, recently I did it.
I love it. Okay. Yeah, Veramini, let me ask you a question. Ilan shuhu omed bifnim, a tree which is inside of Yerushalayim, vinote lachutz, and the outside of the tree, the branches are going to the outside, okay? Or omed bachutz, or it's outside Jerusalem, vinote lefnim, but the branches are leaning inside. Mikineged achoma velefnim, kilefnim. Mikineged achoma velachutz, kilachutz. What the Mishnah just said is the law that Morris quoted. I'm allowed, by the way, I had this with my sukkah. This guy has a tree growing out, covering my whole sukkah. I said to my wife, I'm like, we have a beautiful space for a sukkah that people don't have in Manhattan, but none of it's kosher. So what are you going to do? I said, well, if it's all over my property, I'm going to take matters in my own hands. Dib that I was, I didn't realize they could have threw me in jail. Like, you know what I mean? I climbed up on top of an item in the middle of the night. I'm cutting branches. All the stuff that's hanging over my sukkah. I'm glad to know that I'm not a criminal. Okay, says the I just thought of a crazy idea. Could you imagine, Morris, if you did a crime and then you hired a migrant to admit to the crime? Okay, and it leads to the inside. How do we decide? It's very simple. The wall is the decisor. Anything that is over the wall, that's in. And it's not over the wall. Now, I don't care about the branches. I don't care about the roots. You know how I decide what's in? Airspace. So if you're in the wall, you're in. If you're out of the wall, you're out. Okay? So the Gemara is asking, we have a Mishnah, that the Mishnah seems to tell us that actually, it's not decided by the roots or by the branches, it's decided by the placement. So we can't, the branches don't take this part, they don't take you that way. It's just what's in is in. By the way, how about half of a branch according to this Mishnah?
What do you mean half of a branch?
Up until now, we're dealing with this case. So here's a tree, here's the branch, okay? Here's a tree, here's a branch. We're dealing with a case where if this is the line right over here, okay? We're thinking that this is the line. The tree is in, the branch is out, okay? What about if the tree is in?
Where the branch
What if half of the branch is over the wall? According to this Mishnah, super simple.
Oh, the wall.
Just this is it. That's it. That's in. Everything, including the other part of the same branch, is out. Okay? However, according to our Mishnah, we said you follow the branches. What do you follow when the branch is like this? How do you decide that?
All the way out.
So in other words, here it's half in, half out. So even if I'm following the branches, half the branches in, we automatically assume that it's this. But now that we saw this Mishnah, everything goes after the wall. So imagine the wall's here. That's easy for that Mishnah, Maser Sheni, because you just follow the branch. But if the wall is here, what are you going to do? Excuse me. If the wall's here, what are you going to do? I would imagine, at least at this point, that according to our Mishnah, that you follow where the branches are. We follow like anything else in the Torah, the Rov. So if most of the branch is out, the branch is considered out. In which case, you follow the branch. Most of the branches in, I would imagine it would default to the regular positioning of the halakha. Let's continue.
What is this Mishnah saying?
1 second, Nathan, he was asking a question first.
What is this Mishnah saying? saying? Is it saying that if you have a tree in a
Hold on, Nathan. Hold on, Nathan.
and a wall line,
He's asking a question. 1 second.
are we just talking about if it's allowed, if you're allowed to cut it? No.
I feel like a kill scene.
Ray, we went back.
1 second.
Ray, we went back.
Someone's asking a question. 1 second, Nathan. I'll come right back to you.
It goes back
Sorry,
to Hitler.
Ray?
I'm just trying to understand where. Yeah,
Oh, here's the context. The guy is running away.
Okay.
He climbs onto a tree.
Okay.
The tree is right on the border. We try to figure out now: is he in or is he out? Is he in the safe space?
Running away from
From the guy who's trying to kill him because
and then once he's out of the lines, he's considered in safe zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So now he climbs onto this tree.
Yeah.
The root of the tree is in, and the branches are out. So the
Okay.
question is, if he's on the branch or if he's on the tree, how do we relate to this guy? Is he in or is he out? That's the source of this question. Okay. Our Mishnah said you always follow the branches, which means that even if the root of the tree is inside, if the branches are out, it's considered out. If it's the other way around,
If he's on the branch that's out, or if he just so happens to be on.
even
the
if he's on the
and-
even if he's on the actual tree, it takes the whole tree and it makes it an out tree, or it makes it an in tree. Okay. So our Mishnah says it follows where the branches is. The Maaseh Sheni says that it follows exactly where the wall is. Says the Gemara. Okay. Now that we have this other Mishnah, the Gemara says. So what are we supposed to do? How do we follow? Which Mishnah do we understand? The Gemara says, Maaser A'are Miklat Karamit. I don't understand. You're asking me a question from Maaser to here that in Maaser we decide and we dictate the placement of the tree based on the wall. That's you're asking me from Maaser Sheni that it's different. Maaser Bichomat Halarahmana. The Torah said when it talked about Maaser, if something is inside the wall, it made it about, are you in the wall or not? So what's the deciding factor? Are you in the wall? But when it comes to Are Miklat, Bidirat Milta, the Torah said that a person should run away to the Ir Miklat, and there does he live. The Torah made it about living. Where could you live on a tree? Only on a spot where you can actually rest on a branch. So therefore, the parameters of what decides that you're in or out are two different things. So you can't ask a question from Mishnah to Mishnah. Nathan was asking a very interesting question, but it's not a question for now. Nathan's question was, why don't we follow the laws of what's it called, of Sukkah, of Gud Asik, of Gud Achit, where you, like, if there's a space over something, we connect those two things. That's a much more complicated sugya, and really that's about when you're looking at a binyan. You wouldn't normally just say Gud Asik about something that's hanging in the air, okay? Because it's not about connecting it to the ground, it's about where the place is. So that's not, we wouldn't necessarily follow those laws of Gud Asik.
So the
with
Gemara
regards to
is equating a branch with a place to live, a dwelling.
Correct. Why? Because it's horizontal.
No, that's when not because of that, because you get your freedom, your exile, your safe zone if you're in a dwelling,
Correct.
as opposed to hugging
A tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as an example, here's my question. What would happen if the tree trunk would grow like this?
We said it was good
That would l'chaora be good.
because you could dwell there.
You could dwell there. The only thing that we didn't know is, do we say that we follow the rov?
This is the AI name you said.
That in most cases, that isn't the case. You can't live on a tree. In which case, even if your weird tree, your Japanese elm, is that the one? What's the one that they make with the bonsai?
Bonsai.
Your bonsai tree grows like a Mejnun case. It doesn't matter because it's batel to all other trunk branch scenarios. Okay, so we'll come back to that soon. The Gemara says, "Virami maaser maaser." Okay, you got me. I can't ask a question from maaser to Ir Miklat. But I could ask a question, maaser on maaser. Virami maaser on maaser. Let's ask a question, maaser sheni to maaser sheni. The Tanya we learned in the Braita, in the Mishnah, Yerushalayim halach achar hanof. When it comes to Yerushalayim, go after the branches. Be'areh miklat halech achar haguf. Achar hanof. When it comes to both maaser sheni and when it comes to Ir Miklat, you go after the branches. So we have another Mishnah that tells us that you always follow the branch situation. which for us is perfect because it's exactly like our Mishnah. But for Maaser Sheni, now we have a contradiction within Maaser Sheni, because over there it said you don't follow the branches. Anything over the wall is in, not over the wall is out. But we have a Mishnah now that contradicts it. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Kana explains, Lo Kasha, there's no question between those two Mishnayot. Harab Yehuda, Harabanan. This Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda, our Mishnah, which says that you follow the branches. That's the opinion of Yehuda. The Rabbanan hold that you actually follow the land, the piece of ground that is underneath it, that dictates its placement. So that's the opinion of Rabbanan. So the Mishnah that says follow the wall, that's the opinion of Rabbanan. That's why we don't have a contradiction. It's just two different opinions. The Tanya, we learned in the Braita, 12b1, everybody should have sheets now. The Tanya, we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yehuda says, B'me'ara holech achar pitcha. When it comes to a cave, and so in other words, let's say you have the mouth of the cave is in one zone, and then the cave extends inward underneath the mountain, okay? So me'ara holech achar pitcha. You go after the opening. Be'ilan holech achar nofo. When it comes to a branch, the branches of a tree, you always follow the branch of the tree to dictate what the status of the tree is going to be. Okay? So, in the case of a me'ara, what are we talking about with the case of me'ara? Right? Let's imagine as an example, a person runs into the opening of a cave that's outside Ir Miklat. Crazy question, crazy case.
Outside Ir Miklat?
Gaza, right, has tunnels from Gaza into Rafah, into Egypt. From Gaza into Mabarif, okay? I go into the opening of a cave, and of a tunnel, where does the opening in Israel? Now the end of that tunnel, or maybe even the majority of that tunnel, might be in another country. So what's the status of that cave?
Opening.
The halacha is, Rabbi Yehuda says you follow the opening. Now the majority of that cave might be somewhere else. But the status of the place follows the origin, the opening of the cave.
But in a cave, it's one opening. In a tunnel, it's two openings. So where's the beginning, where's the end?
Oh, Jack nailed us. That was great.
Fantastic.
Now I know what Yeshu feels like. Okay, excellent. Fine. Great point. Fine. So in that case, how would you know? Did that just slide right by you? Yeah. There's. So. And they say that Yeshu, yeah, you have to give Yeshu M&Ms. Yeah. Anyway, says what's it called? So Jack actually points out very good. If you're going to follow the opening of the cave would be in two different places. That's only when it's closed on the other side. Excellent point. I would imagine, by the way, that in a case where there's two openings, we would decide what the cave is based on what the primary opening is. So in other words, let's say the point of this cave is to smuggle objects from Egypt into Gaza. Okay? The halacha would be that the Ikar opening is that way. Is Egypt. Okay? If the Ikar opening, sorry?
You're following mezuzah.
It's very similar to the concept of mezuzah. What if the point of this tunnel is to escape from Gaza to, so it's not about bringing things in. So the other mouth is just the let out point. I would imagine you'd follow, but it's not the same as a me'ara, correct? And I would have no proof to prove that from this case. Okay, so now we know that Rabbi Yehuda says Be'ilan holech achar nofo. So we have a mefurash braita that says that Rabbi Yehuda holds that branches go after, that a tree goes after the branches. Okay. Did everyone follow what we did there? We had a contradiction between the Mishnah and the other Mishnah. The Gemara said you can't ask that question. The Gemara said these cases are different. Then the Gemara asked another question. We wrote a Braita. The Gemara says, oh, that Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. But we don't have a way of knowing that is Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara was just supposing that there was a Makkot Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. Now we found a direct quote in the Braita from Rabbi Yehuda that he's taking ownership of this opinion, that in a tree, you always follow the branches. If it's in, if the branches are out. Okay, let's continue. Hold on. Emur, the Gemara just said, hold on. You just wanted to tell me that this Mishnah and the other Mishnah is according to the opinion of Yehuda. When you saw this idea about Rabbi Yehuda, when it comes to Maaser, maybe the reason is that we're going to dictate where the tree is by the branches, is dafka lechumra, right? Ikaro bachutz v'nofo b'fnim, where the main part of the tree is outside and the branches are in Yerushalayim. I would say that you follow the branches. Ki echi de benofo lo matzi parik, just like when one is sitting on a branch, there's no maaser. Bi'ikaro nami lo matzi parik. So too, a person who's on the actual tree trunk, he also can't redeem the maaser sheni. What are we talking about? Redeeming maaser sheni. The halacha is a person needs to eat maaser sheni in Yerushalayim. So now I decide, see this tree branch, it's coming out. Am I allowed to eat that maaser sheni on the tree branch out of Jerusalem? So Rabbi Yehuda taught us, everything goes after the tree. Ask the Gemara over here. Who told you? Maybe what it's trying to tell you is as a chumrah, that if the branches are outside, so just like the branches are no good, you also can't eat the maaser on the tree trunk that's in Jerusalem. We're being stricter on you. And we're saying if the branches are no good, the main thing is no good. But, ikaro mebifnim, if the main part is the inside, benofo bachutz, okay? When you can't eat that fruit also with regards to maaser. If it's something grows on that tree. Because just like the nofo lo matzi achil below pediyah, you have to have it be podeh, bikaronami lo matzi achil below pediyah. So in each case of maaser that you just talked to me about, whether you're eating the maaser on it, or whether you're redeeming the maaser on it, in each case, this is going to be a stringency when the branches are outside of Jerusalem to tell you no.
A tree has branches on both sides.
Sorry?
A tree could have branches on both sides.
No, yes, of course. The Gemara is not suggesting on a physical level that that's the only possibility. The Gemara is saying maybe Rabbi Yehuda only ever said this on the side of being more strict. Like you always follow the branches to be more strict. But maybe with regards to being more lenient, he never said it. So in other words, let's say, what would be more lenient? Let's say, as an example, the branches are growing into Jerusalem, and the main tree is outside of Jerusalem. So in such a case, I would think I could eat now on the trunk of the tree because the branches are in Jerusalem, and that allows me to eat my maaser sheni. That allows me to eat from this tree without giving maaser. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda never said it there. So the Gemara is challenging and saying, I know that you have an opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, but he never said it to be less strict. He said it to be more strict. On that, the Gemara says, Ela gabi ir miklat, when it comes to the situation of ir miklat, it's not going to be more hamur. Why? Bishlema ikero bachutz v'nofo bifnim. Why? Let's see. How is that going to be the case? When the main part of the tree is inside of a safe zone and the branches are growing out, okay? Ikaro bachutz, outside, and the branches are in, just like you can't kill him on the branches because they're inside. The relative can't kill him when he's on the trunk too, even though that's outside. But when the main part of the tree is inside and the branches are outside, just like he could kill him on the branches, he could also be right? Hagavai.
The trunk is inside and the branches
are outside. Hagavai kai. I don't understand. The Gemara says, but the actual tree trunk is in the Ir Miklat. So in this case, it's not going to be a stringency, it's going to be a leniency. So how do we know that Rabbi Yehuda said what he said with regards to a leniency? We know that maybe he said it with regards to being more strict. How do we know that he said it with regards to being less strict? Okay, everyone understand? Yeah? Gemara answers, Amar Rava. Rava answers, Bi'ikaro, when the main part of the tree, the trunk, is inside, right? right? If the tree is inside the city, everyone agrees that you can't kill him. Nobody disagrees on that. Because the physical placement of the man is inside the city. Okay? Kai benofo. So what are we talking about? If the guy now, the murderer, is on the branches, which are outside, but he could kill him where he stands using some sort of chucked object, whether it's a missile or a knife or a gun or whatever. Is he able to kill him from the outside? That everyone will agree that he's able to kill him. One more time, right? So, one more time. The guy, the fellow himself, Ikaro, the guy is inside on the inside the city. An act of murder cannot occur when they're inside on the trunk in the city. Impossible. Everyone agrees to that. What are we talking about? When the guy, the killer himself, is al nofo, and the guy is able to kill him using a method of murder which he doesn't need to kill him in that place from. Okay? Because he's outside. So when the guy's on the branches outside, everyone also agrees that he's able to kill him in that scenario. So I just want to make sure, because we're using a lot of the similar terminology.
Killer and man, can we just give them two differentiated?
Killer is the guy who accidentally killed.
Okay.
Redeemer is the fellow who's now trying to...
So the killer is where at that point, outside, inside?
So the Gemara said like this: when the guy is on the main part of the tree inside
which is
the
guy?
killer,
The killer.
when the killer is on the main part of the tree inside the city, everyone agrees. How can you kill him? He's inside the city.
He's in the city.
Inside the
Can't
city.
touch him.
Can't touch it. What are we talking about when the guy's on the branches outside the city? Everyone agrees at that point, no problem. He's not in the city. Okay? Gemara says, Ki pligi. So when is there a machloket? B'meheve ikaro darga lenofo. When the trunk is a darga, like a step, lenofo, to the branch.
But if he's outside the city, what's the prohibition? There's no prohibition.
What do you mean?
He's outside the city on the branch.
Yeah.
You can kill him any way you want.
You could kill him.
Right.
The Gemara says, but what if there's a scenario where the tree trunk is itself a step to get on the branch?
Isn't it always? Wouldn't that always have to climb
Yeah.
the trunk to get onto the branch?
I'm imagining darga means that there is a horizontal element of tree. That's what he's talking about. So there's darga lenofo. So in that case, right? In that case, Mar Savar, right? Rabbi Yehuda holds that the trunk of the tree becomes a batel, so to speak, to the branch, and therefore he's able to kill him. Umar Savar lo have ikaro darga lenofo. And the other opinion holds that you can't use the trunk as a step ladder to the nof, and therefore, according to that opinion, the opinion of the Chachamim, in the case where the trunk operates as like a quasi nof, a quasi branch, in that case, according to the Chachamim, you can't use it as a stepladder to allow you to go and kill the guy. Okay? So in other words, the machloket happens when there's a lack of clarity of what the ikar, of what the trunk is. Okay? When the trunk is inside, everybody agrees you can't kill him. That's what Rava is saying. The branches are outside, everyone agrees you could kill him. What are we talking about? Where the tree itself, the trunk itself, is bent in a way where it operates as a stepladder to be able to get onto the nof. So I would imagine in such a case, that's the process of getting to the nof. So if you're in that case, if you're in that place, could you kill him there? The halakha would be a machloket of Yehuda, and the Chachamim Yehuda would say you follow the nof, and the Chachamim would say you follow the tree. Okay. Now the Gemara says that's Rava's answer to trying to fix the Mishnayot together. Rav Ashi says, "My achar hanof." What does it mean that you go after the branches? Af achar hanof. No. We don't mean that you go after the branches. We mean that you even go by the location of the branches. Okay. So in other words, in the case where the tree is inside The case the tree is inside and the branches are going outside, if the outside part is astringency, so we'll use the nof to be more strict. It's not that we'll use the nof to be more lenient. In every scenario, we are being more strict. We're choosing, I don't know what it's called in the legal terminology, but you know when they say when you have either condition will get you in. Either the ikar is in the right place, or if the nof is in the right place. But in either scenario, we'll always follow either that or the branches lechumra. Now that we have Rabbi Yehuda going only for a more strict approach, but never for a more lenient one, that would fit with the way that we understand Rabbi Yehuda. Let's continue with the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, "Harad be'ota ha'ir." Let's say someone killed in the city. Okay, so which is that city? The guy's already in the Ir Miklat. Okay, and we'll see why he's in the Ir Miklat. But a guy kills in the Ir Miklat. Golem mishchuna lishchuna. So how are you going to exile him? He's already exiled. I'm guessing part of the question is, what kind of kapara does he get if he gets to stay in his house and swim in his own pool?
It's gotta go to a new Yom Miklat.
Gemara says, no, not to a new Ir Miklat. He needs to go to another neighborhood.
In the Yom Miklat.
In the Ir Miklat. Shchuna lishchuna. But exile, he's got to be exiled. Golem mishchuna lishchuna. Uben Levi, okay, this is what the Mishnah is actually dealing with. Golem me'ir le'ir. Let's say you have a Ben Levi. So Ben Levi, as we said, these cities were set aside for the Leviim, all the cities of refuge. So a Levi, what if a Levi kills? The halacha is if the Levi kills, it's not enough to go shchuna to shchuna. He needs to go ir le'ir. He needs to go exactly like you just said to an entirely new Ir Miklat city.
Why Levi?
We'll see exactly why and what the difference is. Why should one of them have to move to Allenhurst to deal, and the other guy has to move from one city to the other city? What's the reason? Gemara says as follows. How do we learn this? Where do we get it from? Tanu Rabbanan, we saw in the Braita. V'samti lecha makom, and I will give you a place, lanus shama, to run away to be able to save yourself. The Braita explains, V'samti lecha b'chayecha. I'm going to set aside for you, b'chayecha, Moshe, he's talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, while you're alive, I'm going to give you a place to be able to run. Now remember, Moshe Rabbeinu, we said, he only was able to set aside 3 of the 6 Ir Miklats. Why? Because 3 of the Ir Miklats were on the other side of the River Jordan. Moshe never got into Israel. So he did 3 outside of Israel that would eventually be annexed to Israel, and the other 3 were set aside by Yehoshua and the rest of the 42 cities as well. So God said, "V'samti lecha," and I will give for you, b'chayecha, in your lifetime. Okay, so Moshe Rabbeinu would be able to set aside those parts. Makom, I will give you a place. Mi mekomecha, Moshe, I'm going to give you a place, makom, from in your place. Samti lecha makom, mi mekomecha, from the place in which you are. Okay? Moshe Rabbeinu lived where? He lived in the area surrounding the Mishkan, which was the place of the Levim. Asher yanu shama, that you have to run to that place. Melamed shayu Yisrael megalim b'midbar. We learn from here that if the pasuk is telling this to Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert, that already in the desert people were running away. Shayu Yisrael megalim b'midbar. They would go into galut. Lehechan megalim. Where would they be? Where would they go to exile to if they did not yet have the cities? The Gemara answers, Lemachane Leviah, to the camp of the Leviim. Mikan Amru, we learn from here, Ben Levi Sheharag Goleh Mipelech Lepelech. We learn from here that a Ben Levi, a Levite that kills, has to go from one city to another city. Vimgala lepilcho, and if he went in exile, if he went into exile in his own area, pilcho kolto. Let's see Rashi. What does it mean, pilcho kolto? Right? What does that mean if he went into exile in his own city? Rashi says, where are we?
If who went into
It's on the bottom
Levi?
right.
There were accidental killers in the Midbar.
Yes.
How come we don't hear about that?
Sorry?
How come we don't have a story in the Torah where it says someone killed accidentally and they run to a Yom Miklat?
We don't necessarily talk about every halacha.
Don't think that would be a big one? Someone kills accidentally after in the desert?
No, not necessarily.
Wow.
There are many cases that that don't have an example in Torah. In fact, the actual examples are very few. The Mekoshesh Etzim, the guy that curses God, there are very few actual cases that take place. Like, we don't have a Ben Sorer or Moreh in the desert.
Right.
We don't have a, we don't have a story about a Bechor in the desert.
Is there a Shulchan in the desert?
Also not.
No.
Not in the Torah.
Right.
Right? So none of these cases are brought down.
But it's saying here that the accidental killers existed at the time.
Yeah.
of
Now,
the reign.
the funny thing is, the first thing you think is, what do you mean? But we said that the 3 cities of refuge in Israel don't absorb an accidental killer. So how could there be an accidental killer running to Galut in the desert? The answer is, why do those 3 cities not give you absolution? Because the Torah said, it called those cities the 6. Until there were 6, the 3 don't count.
Right.
But the Machaneh Leviah is not one of the 6. So therefore it was able to be Kolet as just like any of the cities of the Levites, which is always going to be a place of Kilita. So I can't find the Rashi. Hold on one second. You said it over here. That's Tosafot.
I'm sorry. Can't find it either.
I gotta find this. Hold on.
See, I think. No?
Okay. Yeah. So Rashi said, this is it. Pelach is Medina. You see the one line down from the bottom? You see that?
Mike Haran.
One line up in Rashi. Pelach Medina. Maikira, what is the Pasuk telling us? De Polcho Kolto. Where do we see that in the Pasuk? Right? The Gemara is going to tell us this in 1 second. Okay? How do we know that his area, gives him, a safe zone? De matnita nami de katani gole mishchuna lishchuna. That is the same as neighborhood to neighborhood. So again, one more time. Let's say you have a Levite that comes into Machaneh Leviah. Does that get him or not? What did we just learn? He has to go from city to city. But in the time of the desert, there was no other city. So what's a Levite supposed to do in that scenario? The Gemara says, "Golem mipelech lepelech, v'im gala lepilcho pilko kolto." If he goes into exile into his neighborhood, then his neighborhood gives him already absolution. So the Gemara,
His neighborhood or another neighborhood?
his own, even his own.
Oh.
And this is what we're trying to say. Amar Rav Acha bar Rav Acha says, "My kira." Where do we see this in the pasuk? Ki be'ir miklato yeshiv, that he should sit and dwell in his own ir miklat. All right, sit and dwell in his own ir miklat. Ir shekaltato kevar, the city that already acquired him, that already gave him this absolution. So you see that his own ir miklat, the place that he's shayach to, is also something that will give him freedom. Rashi says, "Be'ir miklato kirai terau." We have an extra pasuk here. Dematzil michtav ki sham yeshev. It could have said, "Stay there." What are we saying? Ir miklato, to tell you that even if he goes to his own ir miklat, it's kolet. Okay. So one more time, let's review. We have a Mishnah. The Mishnah says that if a person kills an ir miklat, he needs to go to another ir miklat. You have a Levi who was in the ir miklat. What is he? A person kills the ir miklat, goes to another neighborhood. A Levi goes to another town. What do we find in the desert? In the desert, we find from the Braita. The Braita says that if he's in the place, he's in his own place, the halacha is that's enough to grab him. But where you just told me that he needs to go somewhere else, telling you that that's ideal. But if he goes to his own location, that's a location. There's one condition though, for his own location to be able to be considered galut. And what is it? What changes if I'm living in my own house, swimming in my own pool? The answer is, now you are bound to this place.
You can't leave it.
Can't leave it. So you're bound to your neighborhood. So your neighborhood could get you, but you're bound to the neighborhood. What if you go to another city? The whole city is free zone.
Oh, yeah.
You got the difference? So when I'm going to another city, I have the ability, the lay of the lay, I can walk anywhere I want. But when I'm using my own ir miklat place to be able to be in the situation, the halakha would be that if I'm using my own place, I'm restricted to that shichuna. Why? In order that it feels like galut. That's the difference. When I'm in another city, the whole other city is galut. When I'm in my own place, how do we make it galut? By restricting you. You're in a little ghetto of your own neighborhood. I just wanted to point out that the two cases are actually different in the Mishnah. For the Ben Levi to be a person that's killing and using Ir Miklat, what do we require? The guy needs to kill accidentally one time. But for the beginning of the Mishnah to be true, the guy, how is he going if he's already in Ir Miklat? He's already an accidental killer. This guy is a disaster. He's accidentally killing. It's his second time already.
Part of the yeshiva.
Sorry?
Unless he's part of the yeshiva.
Oh, Nathan!
Because the lady was already living there.
Amazing. No, he was already living. But Nathan answered, great. Nathan said, maybe he's part of the yeshiva.
They had to move there?
Remember, we said that when the rabbi kills, his yeshiva goes with. When the guy kills, the rabbi goes with him. When the rabbi goes, the yeshiva goes with him. So now you have the whole yeshiva there. Right now, maybe the yeshiva guy. So one guy, now this yeshiva then is a yeshiva that has more than one accidental killer. I don't know if you want to send your kid to that yeshiva, exactly, right? Back in the day, but this is old school Brooklyn ADL. All right, beautiful. Okay, I think that we're at our limit today. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, beseder. And we'll continue here. Be'ezrat Hashem next week. I'd love to find.
The space of the branches?
Yeah, hold on. I'd love to find one more time. If we could find or make any other day work, preferably later in the week, that would be amazing. I don't know what we need to do in order to make that happen.
We
But
can
I
even
think,
do earlier. Like, oh, I'm good. I'm up early this time.
Right, that doesn't.
sorry?
What time do you pray in Safa here in Hathaway?
I pray here.
You're here during
8
the whole
o'clock.
week?
Except for 2 days.
Monday.
Tuesday morning and Thursday morning. So
What
Friday,
about-
Friday morning I have a class in the shul.
What time?
I think it's 8:45 till 9. I think they made it, or something like that. But I don't know if you guys and we talked about that. There's charity events there, right?
Yeah, there's always.
Not every Friday.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
Every Friday. Can we go? If we went 9 to 10, would we miss those events?
It's a safe time.
I'm a call in at those times.
Sorry.
I would call in.
And what if we did like 8 to 8:45?
If it works for you guys,
that work?
I'm down to call in.
That works for me. Friday.
Friday,
Is that three?
Friday would be awesome. Come here after that.
or another, or a little. What about after the charity events? Would that work, or that's already
That's already
the
too
day
far.
started? Any other morning work or any other evening work?
For me, praying schedule.
Guys, I have to run. I have a
I
schedule.
love you.
I have 7 men waiting for me to walk.
Okay, good care.
Rabbi, I love you.
God bless. Are you? What you say? Waiting to walk?
Yeah, boy, I walk with the old men from